Hi, John. My name's Jacqueline Willis. I am a current social work student at Texas State University, and I am being supervised by a licensed healthcare professional. Since this is our first time, I wanted to make sure I'm addressing you by your preferred name and pronoun. Do you have a do you like to go by your first name or last name?
Yeah, I like to go by just John. My family calls me Jonathan, but I prefer John, and my preferred pronouns are he, him, his. So
Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. I I have people call me Jackie sometimes, and I really like to make sure I'm calling everyone by their preferred name. So thanks for letting me know. Before we get into the reason for our visit today, I just wanted to go over a few things with you. Since we're in kind of a weird time with COVID and everything, we're obviously meeting virtually. And I just wanted you to know that I am currently at my home. I'm alone and I am in the state of Texas, and my time zone is Central Standard Time. Do you have any questions about any of that?
no, no.
Okay, just a
For letting
few.
me know.
What was that?
Thank you for letting me know.
Of course, yeah. There are a few more things that I want to get into with you. I sent over an email before our meeting, and it kind of goes over everything that I'm about to talk to you about. There are a few things that I want us to verbally go over, but one of the things that I'll kind of just leave in the document are the outline fees and then processes about the length of our meetings, how to reschedule, stuff like that. And I just wanted to ask if you had any immediate questions about that.
No, you gave me good contact information. So yeah,
Great.
email
And
or
if anything comes up later, I know that sometimes I can't really think of the question immediately, but if something pops into your head like a few days from now, you can always email me directly or the office, and we'll be sure to take care of it.
yeah, and I'll make sure on my end I'll be mindful about like uh, when I message you if it's appropriate, like time. And
Oh, of
so
course.
I
Yeah.
know that you have a life too. So
Yeah, thank you. And same here. And we will definitely get into that once we kind of learn more about how many times we'll be meeting and then kind of like the length of our sessions. We can go over that further. Before we get into that, I just wanted you to know that this therapeutic process between us is really important to me, and I want to build a trusting foundation, and I am here to help you navigate kind of your identify and then help you navigate and make decisions based on your therapeutic needs and what's going to be most beneficial for you. And I actually wanted to ask if you have been to therapy before, if you've seen a social worker before.
this is actually my first time in therapy. Yeah, we'll probably go over it at some point in future sessions. But yeah, my dad has a lot of growing up. My dad, there's a stigma around getting help or getting therapy, and so yeah, this is my first time. I'm pretty nervous, but yeah.
Yeah, well, that I can relate. There are some stigmas associated with my parents as well. They have similar views about kind of mental health treatment and stuff, and so I think it's really great. I think you're really motivated in coming here and getting the process started. So I really appreciate um, your willingness to be here, and also doing this over Zoom is probably not easy as it's your first time, but I hope I can make everything as seamless as possible. And again, if you ever have any questions about like expectations or anything, you can always ask me at any time. If you don't have any questions regarding anything we've gone over yet, I'd love to dive into some of the confidentiality um, stipulations and exceptions to confidentiality. And I mentioned earlier that building trust is really important to me, and everything that you and I discuss in our meetings will be totally confidential, just between you and I, with the exception of a few things. So if I were to suspect that you might be engaging in self-harm or threatening to harm another individual, I do have a duty to warn that individual um, that might be harmed, and then I do have a duty to protect you. Um, Furthermore, I have if I am to believe that there is any abuse towards children or vulnerable individuals or elderly individuals, I am a state mandated reporter, so I am legally obligated to report those situations. Do you have any questions?
No, no. Actually, at my last job, I was working with kids, and I was a mandated reporter as well. So I understand there's like a job you have to do. So
Okay, that's great. Thank you for being understanding. And there is one other thing you might notice that I am taking some notes, and that is mainly so that I can refer back to any important points that you might have mentioned that I think would be helpful to revisit. And those notes are totally confidential, with the exception of if I mentioned earlier, I do have a supervisor if I need to kind of go over anything with her. And that's just so that I am making sure that I'm competently servicing your needs and addressing things that you bring to me. I really want to make sure I'm bringing you the best information and service so that we can really enhance your well-being. And if and this is rare, but if a judge were to subpoena my notes for any reasons, I would have to um, give those over to in that situation. And then lastly, if you plan on paying for these sessions with insurance, I will have to share like our progress notes with them so that you can file those claims and get reimbursed for these sessions. Other than that, that's all I have. Do you have any questions about any of the exceptions to the confidentiality between us?
no, I think you covered it really well. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
sure. So why don't we just get into it? Do you want to go ahead and tell me why you're here today?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, just give me 1 minute.
Of
Um,
course. Take your time.
yeah. So okay. So about a week ago, I had just gotten news that I tested HIV positive and having a bit of a hard time. My sexual partner is not aware,
Mhm.
and yeah, running into some issues with insurance and because of my job. I have like a really homophobic boss, and yeah, definitely a really hard work environment for me.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm feeling kind of lost in it all.
Yeah.
It's I'm worried about what are my options and what does this mean for my health? Am I going to die? Um, like how am I going to tell my partner? And it's just I think I'm just having a lot of turmoil internally,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. Uh,
Yeah, of course. You're going through a lot right now. You just had this really big life altering information. You just learned about this. And you're also managing a lot of things, your partnership, your job, and it's feeling a little bit overwhelming. Is that right?
Yeah. I think overwhelming is a good word. Yeah, and I just feel so trapped in the situation, and so like I don't know, I just love to kind of like navigate my options and try and find some sort of solution and kind of give peace to like this internal turmoil, you know.
Sure. Yeah. So you mentioned that you are currently employed. What do you do?
So I work for an IT firm, and you know, my like I said, my boss is like extremely homophobic, and he makes just kind of in passing some pretty misogynistic remarks, or I don't know if misogynistic's the right word, but just some remarks of just kind of stabbing at that I'm not very masculine, or um, kind of stuff like that, and it's really affected kind of my mental health and in my work environment. And also that, like I talked to you about a little bit about insurance, so like my job doesn't really offer health insurance, and so like even my testing I had to pay for out of pocket, and so I that's another stressor, kind of is like all these things compiling into this one situation. And I've been having a hard time sleeping, and it's affected kind of just like my eating too, of just not really wanting to eat. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I That is a really valid way to feel, especially since earlier I believe you mentioned some of the same feelings that you had with your dad of kind of stigmatizing emotions around mental health, and so it's really, I just want you to know that it's totally normal for you to be feeling ostracized by your boss. The good thing is that I can help you in gathering. There's a lot of information that we have, and a lot of research that's come out around HIV, and it's become a really manageable disease. And so with we can work towards getting you the information you need and navigating your relationships at work and at home. I know you mentioned that you have a partner. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Yeah, his name's Joey, and so yeah, it's crazy. I came out earlier in my life, and um, I think I just always knew, but I feel like Joey is the first person I've felt safe around. And with this like information, it's kind of just like my mind goes to like, oh, this is going to be ruin something that is just really like beautiful and perfect in my mind. But um I know that my brain can go to really extreme places, so um
You are really struggling with a lot of different things right now, and so it's totally normal for you to be thinking 100 miles a minute. And I'm sure you're battling this information being new to you, and then thinking about how to deliver it to Joey. Is that correct?
yeah, yeah.